All right, we're gonna take our lizard masks off. We're in this for money. Give us all your money. We don't care about comedy. We want the green.
Next time, give it loud everybody for Anthony Eugenio. We're gonna have next time. Very funny. Wayne Russell, everybody.
Welcome to the Open Mic Pain with Anthony and Wayne podcast.
Why, hello everybody, and welcome to an open mic pain with Anthony and Wayne. Solo edition today. We're here together, without a guest, to do a mic talk because we miss talking to each other alone without the kids in the room. No room for intimacy anymore. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. I survived the eclipse. My retinas are intact.
Yeah, you stared at like a fucking
feeling
idiot.
pretty good about it. Yeah, I'm excited to just have the two of us and kind of catch up. It's been a while. We haven't talked solo in a while, so it's gonna be fun.
Well, this is a documentary, Wayne, so we must document. We must talk about our last couple. I don't think it's gonna be months since we've done a mic talk, but at least month, right? Probably the last 30 days. It's probably worth talking about.
Yeah.
So we've been on a good run of taking the next step, I'd call it, as far as getting booked on shows, which is what we said last time we wanted to do, and we've been doing pretty good with it. Where have we been, Wayne?
Yeah. So I guess about a month ago we were on the O'Shea show with. Well, actually, a week before that was Fortune Bar. Yep. With Max Schultz. There was Xtino was there. Tori Slaughter, Alexis.
Fantastic show.
George Newton.
Got us to work with Alexis for the first time on a show.
Yep.
Which is great. She's awesome.
That was a fun show. I wasn't sure what to expect because it's the Fortune Bar is like your prototypical dive bar, but it was a really cool atmosphere. And for a good portion of it, there was a very attentive audience. And I was pretty happy with how that night went.
I had my notebook at the bar, and someone thought I was a health inspector. And I was like, well, that's not going to go good. That does not bode well for my set. He thinks I am a suit. But yeah, no, that was a good one. We lucked out. It got really rowdy in there in the middle of the setup. And right after my set, it was almost undoable. But before that, it was great.
Yeah.
So I'll take it. I don't care what happens after me. I only care what happens during me.
Yeah, that's true. And like we said, when Alexis was on, that was the show that we were talking about where she went up and really took control of the crowd and got people's attention back, which was incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yes,
she did. Yeah, that was the best.
Even more so incredible knowing that she's only a year in like us.
True.
Like we couldn't do that.
No way. I can't bring her back like that. She's like, when someone says like, I don't like you, and she's the one that's like, no, you do. I'll make you like. Yeah, and then by the end they do. With me, I'm like, I hate you anyways. So that's the I could get out of that, but that is great. So we did that one. We did Fortune. Fortune was great. Then O'Shea's, double great.
O'Shea's was awesome too. That was run by the wonderful Nick Taco.
The wonderful. We got the beautiful Dan, the wonderful Nick.
Yep, wonderful Nick. He did I think that was his second or third O'Shea's show there.
Of it. Yeah, second or third.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was a nice little cafe, small room, but it was nice. It was intimate. Had some great guys on there and ladies. Katie Coughlin was there. Tristan Hoffler was there. Obviously Nick. We had Paul Salib, Scott Fatone. Obviously me and you. I think I'm missing somebody. That was it. That was it, right?
Yeah, that was everybody.
Yeah, but that was a good time too. I had I had a decent amount of friends that showed up. They all had a great time. I was getting texts for days after saying how much fun they had. So that was a really good time. Yeah,
I got one note there that is going to go right to the bottom of the ocean. But my note would be, so I make sometimes a nice espresso in my house, and when I do, I have this little coffee bean grinder thing that you do with your hand, and it's not that loud. You kind of twist it and it goes. This place, they do a lot of coffee. I get it. I totally get it. So they have an electric machine. But god damn is it loud during the middle of your set when you have a big giant coffee grinder going.
It's in the middle of my set.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get it. It was true. In the middle of Wayne set.
But I mean, that goes with the locale. Like we
Let's
talked
do
about with
margarita
Alana. You
shakers
do
or coffee grinders,
yeah. I mean, you do these shows, open mics and stuff at bars where there's darts being thrown around you, pool tables, whatever. And it prepares you for that. And honestly, I didn't even notice the coffee grinder until you mentioned it to me after, and I listened back. So I guess all those open mics really helped, get me through that, apparently.
It's true. It's like when you're driving 75 on the highway now, you don't really pay attention to all the danger that's around you and how fast you're going. It's just because, we've been through it. A lot of shit thrown at our windshield, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So we did that. In there somewhere was a little bit before, but to start it off was our delusional shows. Those were like the start of the paid gigs type of booked gigs type of thing. And from there,
we had the Berlin open mic in there as well with Mike.
Oh yeah, we should mention that
because that was fantastic. If anybody in the area is listening and you're doing open mics, you should definitely hit Mike up. I think it's mikekcomic@gmail.com. Hit him up on a spot for that. That was a fantastic open mic.
Yeah, for the listeners, Berlin, Massachusetts. There is an open mic on a Monday. Is it the first Monday of the month?
I believe it's first Monday of the month. Yeah.
Yeah, so first Monday of the month, which Monday, great day, needs a good mic on there in that area. It had a full crowd when we went, and it is a way for you to potentially get booked by a real booker. So, I mean, goddamn, what more do you want? Go to that one, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. We had a great set there. So, why don't you explain your set a little bit? How did you do?
Yeah, the set there was good. That was the five of my like we talked with Mike. I think I have a pretty decent 10 minutes, and that was the first 5 of those 10. Well, actually, it was a little bit of a mixture, but it went really well to the point where at the end I had multiple people coming up commenting on a couple different jokes, which was nice. That's a nice feeling when you have somebody come up and they remember. I think I was number 6, and there was like 13 or 14. So what's that? 45 minutes later. People coming up and going, oh, that joke about the one-arm guy who tried to touch you, that was hilarious. And, different things like that. That really feels good when people recognize it and remember that far out.
It also feels good when they do it in front of the other comics so that they can look at them and go, you're good too. And that they're just saying that because they caught your eye on the way out and you had to. But that's my favorite part, definitely. I like to get the genuine comment in front of the ungenuine comments. Ooh, so much sweeter.
You're such a petty fuck.
And you're such a little bitch. We did Gibbs Garage the other day, and let me tell the folks, just for a funny aside that I witnessed that I didn't even tell Wayne about. So Wayne got so excited because it was a great show, and we'll talk about it. Because we're going chronologically, but quick aside. Wayne stood basically in a way where everybody who left the room had to walk by him. So
we were all standing there.
You were standing in the front row shaking hands, my friend. The rest of us were standing 5 feet back talking.
That's not true. There were like two other guys standing right there by the front door.
That you did. I will say that. There were 2 people, but none of them shook hands like you. You were like fucking John.
I'm a salesman. I shake hands. That's what I do.
You shake hands. You're standing there. You're like, oh,
if somebody was going to come up and say good job, and he went to shake my hand, I would fucking shake his hand. Of course I would.
Different if they're coming up or whether you're standing in their way.
I wasn't in their way. I was on the other side of a wall. I will say, let's jump ahead to that show real quick. We can go back to the Delusional show down in Milford. Let's jump to Gibbs Garage, because that was a fantastic... Holy fuck, was that great. I wasn't sure what to expect there. It was a nice small room. I counted the people. There were 24 people, paying customers, paying audience members. About 20 of them were Anthony's family, but that's okay. But
yeah, they all sat in the front row, you dickheads.
It was awesome.
It was good.
But regardless, it was real paying customers, elbow to elbow in there, and they were all there to laugh and have a good time, and I think everybody did really well. I got my first boo ever, which was fantastic. It was one lady who didn't wait to hear a punchline, and she just assumed I was a misogynistic piece of shit. And then once I did the punchline, that turns that around. What's that?
You do try to make yourself feel that way in it, so
I do. Yeah, 100%. That joke I crafted to really lose the love from the audience and then gain it back at the end. which I did for 23 of the people, but one out of the 24 people booed me right before I did the punchline, and then the other 23 people laughed. And I don't know if it was her or not, but one person leaving mean mugged me the whole way out. Like, she turned into an owl when she left. Her head was completely turned around, like Exorcist style. She was mean mugging me hard. I don't know if it was that lady or not, but yeah, that was an interesting experience.
Yeah. Well, you fucking asked for it, so I'm glad that it happened to you, and I hope it feels good, because it's what you're supposed to get there. You start comedy and assume that all you want and all that is good is laughs. But there are arguments to be made that are good grown somewhere, a proper boo in the right spot that you want it to be, that's predictable, it doesn't throw you off. Mm-hmm. All that is, that's part of the game.
That's exactly what that was. When I heard the boo, I wasn't surprised in the least. It was the first one, and I've done that joke probably a dozen times at this point.
I've heard a lot of groans during that one, that's for sure, and during that part to it. Because it is
groans,
a huge
yes.
it's a huge misogynistic piece of shit sentence, which is so good. I love that.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I was surprised at how good that boo felt, especially after the laughter came. Like, if it was a boo and then there was no laughter, I would have probably just walked off stage and left. but the fact that I got the laugh, after, felt pretty good.
Did it? It feels so good.
So good. While we're on that subject, you had a spectacular set that night. I mean, everybody did, but I think that was probably one of the best times I've ever seen you. I think you were really eating it up.
Yeah, I was comfortable. I was nervous, as you were, before you went up. And I still got wait, before mine, let's talk about what Jedi fucking mind trick thing that you did in the beginning of your set that I think that we should talk about in history books and teach our children later of how fucking the way to do it. So Wayne has a joke about what a gross asshole he is, and
dad bod.
well, no, he actually also has a joke about how gross his asshole is. So I should say how gross of physically he is. And the host, shout out Pat Collins, fucking awesome, did a joke that was pretty fucking similar to Wayne's first joke in the middle of his.
Yep.
Agreed? So far?
Agreed, yeah. The second... so this was funny. This is the way I remember it, and I'm pretty sure it's pretty accurate. Me and you were... Because I was up first. So me and you were watching Pat. And the second Pat said dad bod, I looked at you and went, oh, no. And you were like, it's fine. Everybody does a dad bod joke. It's fine. And then when he did the part of the joke that is the same premise as mine, and it was very similar. We have a very similar outcome of that joke.
Yeah.
I looked at you and you just went, oof. So I had about 45 seconds to figure out how I was going to get around that.
That was really the most impressive thing I've ever seen you do. I think you literally had a couple minutes to determine how you were going to unfuck the beginning of your set, which has connective tissue into the rest of your set. So there, you had to move stuff around in a way that made it make sense, didn't frazzle you, and kept it like a genuine story. Come on, baby, you did it.
Yeah, I felt pretty proud about that.
You should. I felt proud.
I was very happy with that.
Yeah, for my set, I didn't have any problems. I just nailed it. It was good. It did some crowd work in the beginning.
Would you say you stapled it?
I stapled it. Yeah, exactly. I got a new joke with stapled in it. Somebody gets stapled in it, and I think, when you, man, I'm like, I think it's the one. I think it's a good closer. It's gonna be a good joke for that because it's a minute long. It's good thought that brings you in. It doesn't need a segue. Oh, it's an Anthony joke.
It's a beautiful joke,
and you helped me with it. And again, did great. I'm being too nice to you. Being too nice. People are.
It feels good. Don't stop.
Yeah,
I need this. It's been a day. I need this.
Yeah. See the anguish that you feel on a bad day whilst also getting roasted by me is delectable. All right, so we did that show. Next, we're going to go back in time a week to talk about your Milford show for the fantastic delusional comedy.
That was great. I get to meet a lot of people there that I've never met. Alex Mann being one of them. It was fantastic to finally meet him. We've interacted a bunch on Facebook.
guy's a
Sarah,
riot.
what's that?
That guy was a riot.
Yeah, he was great. Sarah and Finney, was great to meet her. Pat MacArthur. And then obviously we saw Uzair was there as well. I got to meet Mike Casano. It was great. It was Craft Roots Brewing, nice little brewery. Fantastic
such a beautiful
decor.
brewery.
It was awesome.
And I
It was
shook,
really good.
for the crowd, I shook Uzair's hand properly. He's got a weak-ass grip. Sorry, Uzair, you do. But I did grab onto his hand properly. We shook fine. And relations can now commence as normal. Because, goddamn, if you guys don't know, which you don't, because how would you know this? But I'm just saying, we and him have had a micro feud about not being able to shake hands properly. He always throws out a fist bump. I always put my hand over it uncomfortably, or vice versa. I throw out a fist bump, and he throws out that weak-ass hand fish to me, and I never hit it. This time the stars aligned. And he did great.
Yeah.
He's awesome. He's one of the best.
Yeah, no, he's great. He just the week before that, he was at the Boston Comedy Festival, which we could touch upon as well. But
We went there. Yeah. Well, we hung
yeah,
out
we
with
didn't
Jacques,
go to the shows, but we did meet up with Jacques Lambert, friend of the show, friend of the host,
friend of the program.
friend of the program. He was down there helping Jim McHugh. We were in town to see Shane Gillis, which was we could talk about that too. That's fucking amazing.
So good.
But we had some time to kill, so we went down, met up with Jacques. Jim McHugh showed up. We get to meet him, talk to him for a little bit. He's a very nice guy. That was that was a very productive afternoon.
Yeah, it was. We got Chinese food at Empire
Peking
Garden.
duck.
Peking duck,
So
baby.
good.
Poor ducks. I mean, God damn, is that a rough way to go? Because like to make a Peking duck, you blow up air into it so that it like separates a little bit the skin, so
They
you don't
do that
have
while
a
they're
fatty
alive?
layer that you would normally have. Oh no, I'm sure not. But in heaven, they have to wash down and see that happen. There's no way they don't. There's no
In
way
duck
there's
heaven.
not a. Yeah, it's not a duck heaven where he's like quack. Fuck. Yeah, so we did that. Shane Gillis, he was hilarious.
Where would you rate him? I mean, so together, we have seen probably a dozen different headlining comics at this point over the years. Together, never mind separately.
Finish your. Did you had a question? You didn't even ask
Well-
a question.
well,
at
I think
all
I-
there. Did you say rank them? Did you want me to finish that thought for you, Wayne?
Did I cut out because your screen
Oh, you
froze?
must cut Oh, yeah, you must cut out.
I said we've probably seen what, a dozen headlining comics over the years together, let alone separately. So, my question to you was, how would you rank him amongst those that you've seen live?
He'd be two behind Louis.
That was my exact answer. He was a very close two, by the way.
He's a very close too. He like me. I could see that it was a newer hour because it is. That's the only
Yep.
reason why he's two. I've
He had a
never
little
been
bit
able to tell.
from SNL. Some of his bits were from SNL.
Yeah, which you got to do. You just did it.
But yeah,
Gotta get it.
definitely, which was fine. I mean, they're still definitely fucking hilarious. But yeah, I mean, the whole thing, man, I didn't stop laughing through his entire set. It was great.
Nope. No, he's the best going like right now because you can't see Louis because he's not torn. This is the best you're gonna get, I think, right there out right now. Although my brother went to see Tom Segura a couple weeks before that with his new hour, and he did say he preferred Tom's hour over Shane's.
Really,
Yeah, I mean,
it'll be really interesting to see what Tom's new hour is. Because I mean, as you know, I liked Sledgehammer, but it wasn't my pinnacle of Segura.
No, and maybe it comes down to like right. Shane Gillis is. I'm not saying he's new at comedy. Obviously, he's been doing it for like over 10 years or whatever. But Segura and the other ones we've been like Bill Burr are like 30 years in. So I think there's definitely going to be a level of polish that maybe he doesn't have on it, which I noticed over it. Like it's rough.
I
It's
almost
like
prefer
us.
that.
I do too. Totally. It feels like he could be in our club, and obviously he'd go on the wall as the best that's ever walked in there. But meaning like he could go in there and crush, where we might see Tom Segura go in and not be able to do those type of jokes now because he's so far ahead doing 15-minute chunks. Like, could he get 5 minutes out? I'm sure he could, but you know my point. Like, I think Gillis is designed to crush in that environment, and that's what we like. So I like him more, but
Yeah,
I can see
100%.
where maybe Tom's telling a more, I don't know, clever story, perhaps. Something like that, where Shane's is very on the nose.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that before, too. It's got to be different writing when you're a headliner like that, where you have the ability to write a 15-minute premise versus what we're doing now, where we're getting 5 minutes on open mics. And how do you work on a 10-minute premise without boring people? You can't. It's tough. It's a completely different... I think it has to be a completely different thing altogether.
Yeah, and I think when you build an hour, let's say, I think maybe there's a little more, the arc of it before you write the jokes. I was talking to Mike Katrobas about this. Start drinking, everybody. I did it this time.
That's like a 6-shot mention
I
right
know
there.
exactly. Yeah, that's a rare one, but I'm bringing him up. But he did tell me, some pretty fantastic advice when I was talking to him about this very thing. But you're going to have to remind me the very thing that he was talking about, because once I said his name, I blanked. Where were you on?
We were talking about writing a longer bit and knowing
Yes.
the arc of it.
Yeah, sorry. He was saying that a rare thing that I think both of us have, actually, in writing is that we have kind of interchangeable jokes that also flow into personal matters. Like, meaning we have things that are jokes disguised in stories about our family, and we can move them all around our set. And he told me that he's like, that's actually rarer than you think of a skill. He's like, to be able to have that, it's nice because you can change your sets all around. He told me him in particular, that's not a skill set of how he writes. He writes where everything leads into the next meaning his kid is 1 in the beginning of the joke, and the kid is older by the end of the set. So you really can't move him around too much because it gets out to it. So he's a little more locked in, and he has to work on focusing on those bits. And I think that is a good way to get longer bits, because you just know the universe you're playing in. You're trying to add tags to a story. And he's just been doing it so long that it flows perfectly and sounds good.
Yeah. I never thought of that. I mean, you watch... I mean, we go to so many open mics, people trying things out, but for Gibbs Garage, when I was able to move things around and still have it sound congruent, or whatever that word is, cohesive. What a word. I guess that makes sense. Being able to take something and move it and just change the intro, outro, and have it all sound proper.
Yeah, like imagine that was a 3-minute story or 4-minute story about taking a shit in a toilet in the middle of the woods, let's call it. And the punchline is that, bark is terrible toilet paper. And then Pat goes up and says bark is terrible toilet paper. You have 3-minute to 5-minute joke that all revolves around the shitting in the woods and then the thing at the end, and how do you get out of that? Ours are a little different, they're sometimes 30 seconds, of stuff that can go anywhere in a thing. If someone says, they go, all right, well, I'm fine, I can get out of that. So that is good, I think. I'm self-conscious about it a little bit. Like, I wonder why nothing I tend to write tends to be a 5-minute joke. Like you sent me today, was it Eddie Griffin?
Yeah.
So funny. But yeah, 5-minute joke he did, which is just one of the jokes that he had on there, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, man, that's such a hard thing to do in an open mic, would be to tell a story like this, but it's so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for them, the 5 minutes is 1/12 of their. For him, that was an 1.5-hour special, but in general, let's say a 5-minute bit is 1/12 of their set, whereas 1/12 for us is like 40 seconds or 50 seconds or something like that. So
You hear the
if
story
you
of
lose somebody for
Martin
5
Lawrence.
minutes over an hour, it's like, what's the big deal?
It's true. It's true. Yeah, you hear the story of like Martin Lawrence and Eddie Griffin at the Comedy Store doing like 3 or 4 hours. And I mean, obviously bumping everybody, which is horrible. But how could you do that long? Like, could you imagine? I would die on stage in the middle of it.
I don't think I would sit through the whole thing. If I was an audience member?
It's true. I know. I really, I did think, like, who could I stomach for that long? And the answer is nobody.
Yeah.
Not a single person. Not Louis and Shane Gillis in their primes doing their hours 4 in a row. Can't do it.
I was literally just going to say, like, even Louis, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. We're done with you.
Ginge. Yeah. So we did that. That was great. Now, we talked about Gibbs Garage.
Mm-hmm.
So, what about the future? Let's discuss that.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting some fucking big snowball effect going on for you. You're getting a lot of stuff coming up for you.
Oh, almost equally as yours.
I mean, almost as equally, but yeah, no, we got. I mean, you have. I mean, this will be 2 days ago when this comes out. Hosting the show for Casey Crawford, Thirsty Robot in Fitchburg. You have Katie Coughlin, Derek Seba, Nick Taco on the show.
Yeah, this is a great one. So I got to host this show because I accidentally was the face of Derek Zeba on the flyer instead of Derek. And I was like, hey, that's not Derek, but good call putting Derek on it. And then through some circumstances, spot opened up and I got to go on and got to host.
Yeah.
So that one hopefully went good. If it didn't, you won't see me next week.
I'm sure it'll go great. But then on top of that, in May 11th, you will be hosting again for Casey Crawford. This time with...
We're friends now, by my math.
We have to be close, right?
Come on. I mean, Jesus. Like, come on, Casey. So, yeah, 2 times with Casey. You are the opener there, which is fantastic.
I am very excited for that.
I believe that's going to be 15 minutes, my friend.
Yeah.
Because the Katie is opening this weekend, and she's going to do 15. That's the opener time.
Well, like Mike said, usually, guest spots 10 minutes, openers 15. Yeah. So I have some work to do. I mean, I can definitely do it. But I have some work to do to put it together just because I haven't had to curate a 15-minute set yet. But yeah, I have my ideas of how it's going to go. I have an outline in my phone on what I'm putting where to get it done. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, the real cool one. Well, I mean they're all cool, but the final cool one that is more like I feel like it's a culmination of our year in comedy is going to be this last show. I don't know if I'm hyperbolic in it, but this was one that we got to put together with people who we think are the coming up with us at the same time. Great comics highlighting the best local in the area. So on June 20th, I'll be hosting a show. Wayne will be on the show for Delusional again at Jungle in Somerville, and that one's gonna be really cool because we got to Avengers assembled this lineup of killers, and for instance, Justin George and Jacques Lambert are on the lineup with us, which are not only dear friends, but we think some of the best around. And then we got to go to people who have, during our first year in comedy, given us helping hands of teaching us stuff, being really cool to us, leading by example and showing awesome stuff. And then, people who've blown us away throughout the process of doing it. So we got Nick Powell on there, Xtina, Lloyd Legacy Sharp, and we have Alexis Cristaldi, yes, who just on the podcast a couple weeks ago, and she's so fucking funny. So, I mean, come on. How much more do you want out of a show than this fucking show? This is going to be a really cool one at an awesome place. The Jungle's awesome. You guys heard the bomb episode about the Jungle that we had. That was so good. And now we're going back. We're going back, and this time we're running it, baby. But yeah, I want to, and I'm sure you feel the same way. We should thank Mic'd Up Comedy Productions. We should thank Delusional Comedy Productions because they have been fucking really awesome giving us shots, giving us show opportunities. And if you asked us 6 months ago when we got these opportunities, how they'd go. And I bet if we said that, like, hey, 5 out of 5 shows or whatever we did for all of them have been fantastic and done well, and we feel like we were never, the worst or not supposed to be there, I think that'd be surprising. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Actually, you never know. You're like, you get that imposter syndrome, and you're like, I don't know, am I even should be in a room like this?
Yeah, Alexis mentioned that on the podcast, and we kind of breezed past it. But yeah, I have had that imposter syndrome quite a bit. As much as I, pump myself up behind the scenes to keep my energy and optimism high, I do have that imposter syndrome. Like, why am I walking up there to talk to people? Like, who wants to hear me talk? But every time I go up there, it's at least a decent experience for most people involved, as far as I can tell. So that's nice.
Well, yeah. The issue is there are two ways I would say future open micers that people start doing comedy. There's the open mic scene, which means is what we did, which for like 8 months, all we did is go to open mic places and hope to God that there were regular people there. And there weren't. Almost never. Wayne got the Mike Katroba's Class show, where he got his first taste of a real crowd. My first taste of a real crowd of like fully packed people was the Delusional show. So we're talking 8 months in of we've never even fucking seen that before. So now that it's becoming a little bit more normal to do in front of those crowds, it is a little bit more, I want to call it validating, because before that, you're like, I don't know if a regular person is ever going to laugh at the things I say. What if we spent 8 months building 10 minutes that is only funny to open mic comics because it's outrageous or something? Mm-hmm. So that was a cool thing to get over. And number 2 way that I think you can get into comedy, which is completely different, is a lot of the people we've been interviewing lately got on real shows right away. They went to a comedy club. We talked to Matt Brown. So funny. He worked the door at a club in Worcester and was able to grow on real shows every week. So there's that too. And that, I imagine, is a little bit more confidence building, is when you get real shows right away and you see the jokes start working and all that. For us, I don't know. Do you... Here's a good question. Before we started doing real shows, would you consider... Like, that was comedy, obviously. But what... Would you consider it a different type of comedy just because we were never doing it in front of audiences and it was just for that? Like, what would that be more?
Yeah, I mean, you're getting your feet wet, right? Yeah. It was a different type of comedy because you didn't know how to curate your material towards a non-comic crowd. You can curate your material towards the fucked up mind of a comic. So I was doing that Chris Benoit bit and a few other bits that are not kosher in the real world just for funsies. But once things started getting real, it's like, okay, you can do those once in a while, but you really have to work on some other things that might not be quite as grotesque. At least in my head. I think that comes
full circle too.
It
I think
does,
eventually you get so many booked shows that's the only place you can work out stuff, and then you go back to darkness because you're gonna try the dark shit sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know. I've been thinking about that too. It's gone by so fast, but we were going out to different open mics all the time, and it's less and less now. We're getting the real shows, so we're like sprinkling in open mics. I mean, we haven't had like a shit ton, but we're sprinkling them in to benefit those shows more so than to just go do it. I guess is what I'm trying to say.
No, 100%. So for a while, my method was get 5 minutes that you like, put away most of the jokes of that 5 minutes, start a new set with almost all new shit, and sprinkle in a couple of your old jokes and go from there. And that was just the rotation all the time. Try your new shit out at the mics that you've been established at, like the Safe and Strange Brew and those type of things, so that you can, at least get the feedback of people who you know and they haven't heard the joke before, yada, yada, yada. Now it's kind of tough to do that because if you want to practice for, a good show coming up, you're not really going to throw a bunch of new shit in there that you're not going to do there.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to work on that. And especially now, with a little bit, I have emphasis now of taking open mics and working on delivery of material. I've been so worried about, is this joke good? Now I think I'm like, California Sober is a good joke. I now have to perfect its delivery and how I get it out to people. And I think that's going to be a big tool of open mics, is to work on that and not give a shit if people have heard it. I don't care. I'm going to be working on an angle on it. I'm not, I don't want to mail it in and, you see some people go up and do the same intonation, tone, and everything of their set every time. I think that's lame. But I think trying to perfect the art of seeming like you're telling it for the first time is the skill, that level we're working on now.
They're a little bit on that vein of saying it for the first time, and it's a little off track, but doing those two shows in Milford for Delusional and the one for Mic'd Up 6 days apart. I actually did that. I did a new joke that I had never tried anywhere. I just sprinkled it in. It wasn't a new joke. It was a new tag to a joke. And I had no idea if it was going to work. And I was pleased that both times it actually worked really well. And I got to say, I didn't talk to you about this, but that feeling when you're like, I've never done this before, let's see how it goes, and you say it in front of a real crowd and they love it, that felt so goddamn good.
Yeah, that almost never fucking happens. There's a curse of stand-up where the first time you do any bit, it usually sucks because you just need to figure out the angle on it and be smooth with it. But there are some times where you just nail it the first time. You're like, that's the one, and it's rare. Like I have a new bit called Act of God, which we're very well, and I wrote that the week we were going into this shenanigans. So similar idea. I got to do it at Mulligan's one time before I tried it in front of basically an audition at Mike's set up in place. And I was like, it was so, I would have never done this a couple months ago, done a joke I've only done one time and something that was this important. But it was just one that I was like, I know this is good. There's no way around it.
And it was. I love that joke. I think about it once in a while. I just start chuckling. It's good. So
yeah. So what do we got now? Well, so we did the past, future, drugs, did all that.
Yeah, I don't think we have much else. I mean, we have some things in the pipeline for the show, for the podcast, different guests and things that look pretty good. I'm excited about that.
Well, good. Well, all right, everybody. This is what you need to do. You need to go buy fucking tickets to the shows that we talked about, because we need you there. And if you go there, we will be able to do more of them. And if we're able to do more of them, we'll be selfishly happy. And that should make you happy because you're altruistic, right? I see, I love, if everybody was good to everybody, the world would be better. Act that way then. Come to our show. Give us your money. I won't return the favor, but I'll be happy. How about you, Wayne?
I'll be thrilled. Give me all
Wayne
the money.
will be thrilled.
Just bring it.
Give all the money to Wayne. All right. We're gonna take our lizard masks off. We're in this for money. Give us all your money. We don't care about comedy. We want the green.
I just want gas money.
It's been a worthy step in the quest for money.
Such a petty fuck.
And you're such a little bitch.